Okay, well, let's try this again. Okay, I see my mic is on now. Everything is on. There we go. I see I have a bunch of messages coming through. Francois geen klank. Hi Francois, ons kan niks hoor nie. Kan niks hoor nie. Okay, so I've been sitting here for a good 2 minutes talking to myself. That's always fun. It's not the first time it happened. So yeah, I'm 100% sure everyone's going to start hopefully replying. There we go. Tsepiso says, can hear you. Fantastic. So welcome to this afternoon's quick coaching session regarding the inflation report that is being released in, well, about 60 minutes. So in about 60 minutes, that is going to be released. And then once that is released, obviously there will be some fantastic trading opportunities, and that is what we are here to specifically discuss. Okay, so glad to see the comments are coming through regarding everyone can hear me now. Other than that, do you have any additional questions for me? Is there anything that you would like to know regarding this specific report? I already have a bunch of questions here that most of you sent through to me, so I'm going to be using that as a basis point and a starting point, and I'm going to be answering those questions as well. And once I've answered that, then we can move on to any additional questions that you might have and that you are putting through in the comment section as well. Okay, so first question came from Tsepiso. Tsepiso says, will this be a potential scalp trade opportunity? And the answer is absolutely 100% yes. Okay, so when we are trading the inflation report or the CPI, we are going to be focusing on scalp trading opportunities. So this is an absolute resounding yes to Tsepiso's question. We'll have a look at that just now. I see there's some additional comments popping through here as well regarding market movements and so forth. So yeah, we'll move over to that just now. Just moving on to the next question. So the following question that I have here is from Leon. And Leon says, which of the three reports have a bigger influence on trades? I will be trading USD JPY and gold. Okay, so Leon specifically says that he is going to be trading USD JPY and gold. Now, for those of you who don't know, when the actual report gets released, so when the specific report regarding the inflation gets released, I just want to see if I can actually share my screen here. I don't know why I can't. Let me just see here. If I minimize this a little, no, for some reason it doesn't want to share my screen today. I apologize about that. So I'm just going to basically be talking you through it then. So if we have a look, there's three reports that get released at the same time. We have CPI month on month, we have core CPI, and then we have the CPI year on year. Now, the easiest way to think about these is the CPI month on month and the core CPI. That's our scalp trade. Okay, so that's the one that if you are scalping the market, if you want those quick 5 to 10 minute profits, that's the report that you're going to be focusing on. However, the year-on-year report, which we are currently expecting to come out at 5.2%, so that's down from the 6% that it came out on last month. Now, if you watched my video this morning, I already shared a bunch of this information with you. So during today's trade, if you are focusing on the scalp trade, then we will be focusing on the month-on-month and the core, because that will give you that initial spike, it'll give you that initial movement, and that is where we can then, take our trading from and, gauge our trading from there onwards to see how everything will play out. once we move on to the year on year, that's going to affect our trading for the next 2 weeks, all the way up into once we get to the interest rate report, which is on the 2nd and 3rd of, well, the meeting starts on the 2nd and the report gets released on the 3rd. So remember, there's a 2-day meeting before the interest rate decision comes out. Now, currently we are expecting month-on-month inflation to drop from 0.4% to 0.2%. Core inflation we are expecting or forecasted to drop from 0.5 to 0.4, and as I said, the year-on-year is expected to drop from 6 to 5.2. Should this happen, this will obviously be great news for everyone who trades against the dollar. Okay, it's not going to be great news for the dollar, but it's going to be great news for everyone who trades against the dollar. Because why? If inflation is cooling that much, there won't be any room for the Federal Reserve to increase interest rates in May. So that will mean that we will see a spike in gold. We will see a spike in most of our index funds, especially NASDAQ. And we will also see a spike in Euro USD and USD JPY. Now, focusing on Leon's question, should it come out as expected, USD JPY, sell. Gold, buy. Obviously, you probably know by now as well, those two are contradicting to each other. Okay, so again, just for everyone who's new to my sessions, okay, I normally have a nice screen that I share, and so on and so forth. But seeing that we're just chatting through this today, just wanting to say that obviously everything that I do share during these sessions, especially like what I just shared, it's just my opinion, okay? It's how I'm going to be trading. It's what I'm going to be looking for. It's not financial advice, please, okay? So don't take it as such. It's just my opinion of the market. It's how I look at the market. It's what I base off my experience and, you know, what I'm going to be looking at for different trading opportunities. So Leon, I hope that answers your question. So I'm going to be moving on to the next one. So Leon says, thanks, Francois. So I'm guessing it answered his question. So let me move on to the next one that we have here, which is from Shawl. So Shawl says, which instrument would be the best to trade? I would say GBP USD, Euro USD, USD JPY, gold, and probably NASDAQ. So those 5, you need to choose which one is most appealing to you. So those will be the 5 that I'm going to be focusing on, and those are going to be the 5 that I'm going to be specifically looking at. Personally, I'm going to look at either trading gold or NASDAQ. Those are the 2 that I'm going to be focusing on specifically. Okay, so what? Okay. Should we close our current trades before CPI report? Well, it depends on which trades you are. If you are in any one of those 5 instruments that I just mentioned, so if you are on a NASDAQ trade or Dow Jones trade or a gold trade or USD JPY trade, I would suggest that you at least lock profits. Okay, so move your stop loss to break even, minimize those losses as far as possible. Because you don't want to just unnecessarily close a trade, because why? The inflation report could go in your direction. And instead of making a little bit of profit, you can make a massive amount of profit. But I would still at least just secure the trade if possible. Okay, so I think that one answers. Again, that was Trevor's question, by the way. So Trevor, I hope that answers your question. Then I have a question here from Neil. So Neil says, which Forex do we expect the biggest moves on and why? Well, I guess I answered that one already as well. So that's Euro USD, GBP USD, and USD JPY. Those are the ones that I'm expecting the largest move on. Just because, well, they are the largest movers. They are very USD biased. So, yeah, those are the ones that I'm going to be focusing on to, you know, push everything as far as possible. Okay. Jake's. So Jake says, does year-on-year figures give primary consideration? So Jake's, as I was saying, year-on-year is the one that we base the longer-term trade on. So if you are entering into like a day trade or swing trade, that's what we're going to be using the year-on-year figure for, because that is the primary focus. And but as I said, for the larger scope, that core and month-on-month, those are those quick changes that the scalp trades will primarily be based on. Okay. Then I have a question here from Herman. So Herman says, will CPI have an effect on natural gas? There's a possibility. Remember, natural gas is denominated in dollars, so if the price in dollar fluctuates, it can affect the commodity in the same way that it affects oil. Again, oil also gets affected by the dollar, not for the reason that most other commodities get affected by the dollar, just for the fact that it's denominated in dollars. So there's a fluctuation there, but it isn't as significant as, for instance, gold or silver. So the effect won't be exactly the same in that sense. Okay. So Herman, I hope that answers your question as well. I know we are all currently in, if you are part of the Smart Online Trader trading channel, then you are currently probably in a natural gas swing trade. So yeah, we're all in that trade at the moment. I'm in there right with you, buddy. So, but yeah, it might affect, and hopefully it affects us in a really good way. So let's see what happens, especially if the dollar decreases in value. So if CPI comes out as expected, the price of natural gas should go up. Okay, and the reason why is because it's denominated in dollar. If the dollar weakens, it increases demand for natural gas. Okay, because now for all foreign countries, it becomes cheaper or not as expensive to purchase natural gas. And with that increase in demand, that obviously will boost the natural gas price. Okay, so yes, okay, cool. So that's all the questions I had on the Telegram group. Let me see what else do we have here. Okay. Okay, so Neil says gold is moving. Neil, I just had a look. I'm not seeing gold move at that same pace. I don't know why. Maybe it's just on my side. Gold is moving slightly. Well, gold was moving during the majority of today, and not in a good way, because gold fell from those high points of 2020, where it's currently at 2007. So that isn't all that great. And let me see what else I have here. So okay, so Yaku also asked the natural gas question. I already answered that. Tapiso says, we know the risk disclosure by heart already. Well, thanks for that, Tapiso. I really do appreciate that one at least. Joel says, how close does one put your stop loss on Euro USD, gold, and NASDAQ? Well, Joel, answering that specific question is a little bit difficult because the fact that, well, it isn't the same answer across the board because of the fact that on gold, for instance, so let's start there. On gold, if you are using a scalp trade on this specific pair with the fluctuation that we experience on this specific report, I'll be looking at a stop loss of about $3. Okay, so that's about, what, 30 pips. Okay, so $3, 30 pips on gold. If you are trading Euro USD, stop loss will slightly be smaller on that. So there we can go anywhere from 10 pips to about 20 pips, depending on your risk appetite. So depending on your specific risk appetite, 10 pips to 20 pips. On NASDAQ, I would go about $30. Okay, so $30 on NAS is what, 300 points. So yeah, so those will be my three ratios. Okay, I hope that answers your question. So that's kind of how I would work out my ratios on that. Charles says thanks. Leon says sorted, got it 100%. Then I've got someone here, I can't read the name, but it says, will NAS 100 and US 30 go bull during CPI? So there's a great possibility, okay, especially NASDAQ. US 30, I've explained this in the past, reacts differently to CPI reports than, for instance, NASDAQ and your S&P 500. And the main reason why is just because of the fact that, so for instance, let's use today as an example. Let's say that the US inflation comes down. Okay, so inflation is cooling. That is bad news for the dollar. But now let's look at the companies within US 30. So look at the companies listed on the Dow. There's a lot of your major banks, such as JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, and all those. Okay, so for them, that's not good news. Okay, why? Because bring it back to South Africa now. What happens, what message do you get the day after interest rates went up? Okay, it happened about a week ago. South African interest rates went up. What happened? We all got an SMS the next morning. Your credit card is now more expensive. Your loans are more expensive. Your vehicle finance is more expensive. Your home loan is more expensive. So when interest rates actually, so remember, cooling inflation leads to lower interest rates. Lower interest rates leads to the banks making less money. So for the Dow, it might not be as bullish. But for an index like NASDAQ, it's super bullish. So there, 100% major bullish momentum should inflation be cooling. If it comes out with a positive result, so in other words, we don't get that 5.2, maybe we get a 6 or a 6.5, and it still shows that inflation is not coming down, and especially after our last NFP report, which showed a really strong labor market, we could see higher inflation today. We could still see that inflation up there. And that, on the other hand, can be terrible, detrimental news to, for instance, our NASDAQ index. Okay. I hope that answers your question. As I said, I couldn't make out your name. On my side, it just shows a user handle here. Okay. Marnus Kriel, Francois, it's me, Herman. Great, thank you so much. Okay, and then Yaku, thanks. Shawl. What about the USD ZAR trade? Okay, currently in a buy according to the market news this morning. Would the CPI bring that back down though? Okay, so USD ZAR will 100% be affected. Okay, now I know during my video this morning, I actually shared a trade on USD ZAR specifically. So let me just move over here to my charts real quick. And I know I did say that we do have a potential buy or sell opportunity on USD ZAR, and yes, USD ZAR broke higher. So that automatically means now that, you know, I'm guessing, let me just check again who sent me the message. Shaw. So Shaw is in that buy. And now again, it depends firstly on where you got in, and I would see to secure profits, okay, because USD ZAR is a great pair to trade with inflation. But should the inflation come out more or less as expected, that would be negative news for the dollar. And that could mean that USD ZAR could potentially sell. If it comes out as positive news for the dollar, well, then USD ZAR might be heading for 19 Rand to the dollar. So yes, there will definitely be fluctuation on this trade. And as I always say, Joel, you don't want to be on the wrong side of it. So normally just prior to these major events, I will start securing my trades, moving stop losses to break even. And if the trade then goes in my direction, absolutely fantastic. But if it doesn't, then at least I know my capital is secured. I hope that answers your question as well, Shaw. Traders, any other questions? Anything else from anyone else? Otherwise, this has been a really productive, short 22-minute session, apart from the fact that I was talking to myself for the first 2 minutes. So, barring that, if we move that little 2-minute mishap to the side, great. So, yes, let me know any other questions. Other than that, I really do hope that you all have a fantastic trading session, and I hope you are ready and prepped for that CPI report, and I hope this assisted. We also have the Canadian interest rate report at 4 o'clock, so you actually have two fundamental trading opportunities today, so be on the lookout for that one as well. Tapiso says, thanks Francois, appreciate. Tapiso, it's only a pleasure. So traders, thank you for joining me for this really quick session. Best of luck with your trading at 2:30. As always, may the plus be with you, and please send me those trade results. Okay, let me know how your trading went. I always love to hear about it. This video will be live on YouTube as well, so you can even comment how your trading went. Did you make profit? Didn't you make profit? Or you can just send it to me via Telegram if you have me on Telegram, or if you want to send it to me via